Inadmissible evidence. A criminal case that presented evidence at a trial. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Sergeant Sergio and I have with me Dr. P. And we are here to discuss the inadmissible evidence in the case of the state of Alabama versus the defendant. The crime, it was a homicide. And we will now start with our first question from Dr. P.
Sergeant Sergio, can you begin by telling me how everything started?
Yes, dispatch received a 911 call from a woman who was frantic. She stated that her husband was unresponsive and she thought he was dead. She said blood was all around him. The dispatcher tried to calm her down and asked her for her location, for her name and contact number. The dispatcher informed emergency personnel of the situation. They were en route to the scene of the incident.
Sergeant Sergio, everything sounds really complicated and a little scary. Can you explain to me what the investigating police officers found when they arrived on the scene?
Yes, Dr. P, I'm glad you asked. Upon their arrival, they found a Cadillac in the yard with the driver's side door open. They spoke with the victim's wife and then entered the home where they found the victim lying unresponsive, covered in blood down through the mattress and box spring. By this time, people had begun to gather at the house.
Wow. How did the investigating officers control the crowd and continue to investigate the scene? What are the standard procedures?
They used crime scene tape to rope the crime scene off. They used vocal command to direct the people away from the crime scene so the evidence wouldn't be tampered with. A log was formed that the document everyone who came into the crime scene and everyone who left. A photographer started outward taking photos and working their way inward. Medics came in and tried to revive him and were unable to do so. The coroner pronounced the victim dead on the scene. It was later determined that the victim had also sustained blunt trauma to the head. Officials came in and collected the gun. Next, the law enforcers continued their investigation. This was standard procedure.
I heard you mention that a gun was collected as evidence. Did the investigating officers collect any other evidence at the crime scene?
Yes, a pipe that was allegedly used to strike the victim in the head, the body, the gunshot wound, the sheets, the pillow and pillowcase, the comforter, the top mattress, and the box spring, the victim's keys and his vehicle, his wallet, and all his clothing.
How many victims were there, Sergeant Sergio?
There was only one victim, and we refer to him as Slick.
How many suspects were there and how was that determined?
There was a total of four alleged suspects, three male and one female. That was determined through questioning witnesses who were standing around.
What were the investigative tactics that the officers used during the investigation?
Investigators were called in from other areas who used sophisticated resources such as fingerprint chemicals and more crime scene tape and forensic analysis.
Are there any legal or constitutional violations that arose during the investigation or at trial?
There was a mismanagement in the chain of custody. The court proved that all the parties named for a witness statement and upon interview were there at the residence at the time of the tragedy. However, it was not proven who was the aggressive killer. Law enforcement officer waited. They took a long time getting fingerprint, written statements from the alleged offender, and proper photos. Law enforcement officer also allowed bystanders who gathered at the scene to cross the lines of yellow tape, possibly destroying a disturbing valuable evidence. The people who trespassed onto the crime scene were not documented to keep proper records. Agencies who collaborate with each other were not crime scene organized or structured. Things seemed totally unplanned and out of order. Seasoned officers on the scene were not wearing a body cam.
Wow. Well, I have just one more question. In your opinion, what could have been done differently in the investigation and during trial?
Specialized officers should have been transparent with each other and used their training skills more effectively. Evidence should also have been submitted in a timely manner. When the forensic pathologists were subpoenaed, it was determined that the pipe found at the scene was inadmissible because the victim's blood was not found on it. The object that the victim was struck with was never recovered, and there was not enough evidence to substantiate the guilt of the suspect. Hence, the investigation was not effectively administered. This led to every suspect being acquitted.
Well, Sergeant Sergio, I just want to take this time to thank you for having me on this podcast and allowing me to ask you questions regarding this case.
You are welcome, Dr. P, and I want to thank you for being a part of this podcast. You have also helped enlighten me with the questions you have asked. I also want to thank everyone who has decided to listen in to this podcast.